When looking for the king of podcasts, you're at the wrong channel.
Well, excuse me!
Looking for good ideas for life? You're far from good hands.
Hey, bud, what's your problem?
If you think the listener is always right, you're far from the right place.
Out of order! Even in the future, nothing works!
Hosted by a Northeasterner by birth, but a rebel by choice.
Are you threatening me?
If you want a host that floats between love and madness,
and we know the night is always gonna be here anyway. Thinking of you's working up my appetite, looking forward to a little afternoon delight.
then play on and listen to Crazy Train Radio.
All right, guys, listen to this blues riff and B. Watch me for the changes and try and keep up, okay?
Warning, creators of this game do understand the subject matter may be offensive to some, but they do honor the families and people that have been affected by these real-life tragedies that these individuals have caused. Want to play a game?
Oh, yeah!
Lover of true crime?
Yes, yes, yes.
Well, we got an interesting game for you to check out.
Wow.
With the mashup of influences such as horror movies, collecting cards, and RPGs.
What?
Led to giving birth to an incredible creation of this game, Killers, the card game.
You are all my children now.
This game is a collectible trading card game featuring some of the most infamous killers, with tidbits of trivia on the back of each card to help you learn some insight to each criminal.
Who the hell are you?
Let's not forget, during the game, cops will be chasing you and these criminals.
I'm a cop, you idiot!
However, check out their website listed through all social media today, which can be found under Killers, the card game.
Am I on the internet?
I want to play a game.
Hey, I'm Jim Brown. Thank you guys so much for listening to Crazy Train Radio. Never mind, find some shade.
Hey folks, it's your least favorite host in the podcast world, Croc, Jonathan Steele. And boy, do we have a good one for you today. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, childrens of all ages, this next guest recently put out a new release of his new song. It's also perfect that he put this new summertime video out for this song called Shade. Towards the end of the summer, it came out August 17th. The video exclusively premiered on countryevolution.com. But now you can see it on his YouTube channel and all that stuff. His other music is available on all streaming platforms that are currently out there. This Nashville native first cut his musical teeth at the age of 19 at the iconic Nashville Place. Let's welcome musician Jim Brown. Jim, how you doing?
Hey, doing good, buddy. How are you?
Oh, I can't complain. Nobody listens when you bitch and moan. But, doing a little reading on you, getting ready for this. And first of all, congratulations on how Shade's been doing. One of those days, and thank God it's taped.
And that's Nashville Palace. by the way, not Nashville Place.
Oh, this palette, yes. I just started trying this, but it's a Chivas Regal blended Scotch and whiskey. It has a little bit of a honey taste to it.
There you go.
So, obviously, with the new single, what has been the response that you've been getting so far?
So far, everything has been positive. When we decided to do this song, I was in a mad rush because it was the last song we did on the set of 14 that we did, but it was the song that had to come out first. So we literally had to get all of our ducks in a row to get it out, get it pushed, get it released, and then go do the video. And the video was almost identical to getting the song out. We were during the rainy season, and we went to the beach and had 4 hours to get all the beach footage. And we got it, literally walked away, got in the vehicles, and the bottom fell out. So
usually, isn't that the case with anything? It falls out that way.
Yeah. It just, but the response has been phenomenal. It's been really good. And it hasn't been overwhelming, which is a good thing. But it's been very positive, no negative, and that's what I like. So,
unfortunately, we have some negative Nancy's in the world in this crazy world called the internet, but that is what it is. But I want to go ahead and insert shade right here before we get into other things so people can listen to it.
It's 5 o'clock and that sun is hot and I'm ready to hit the road. Got a sweet little thing waiting on me, I know she's ready to go. Gonna roll all the way with the windows down. We'll park this truck in that beach town. Oh, I can see her now, with that smile there on her face. As soon as we find our place in the shade, girl, you know we got it made. You and me in the breeze on the beach, nothing between us but shade. You're lost in those waves, rolling in the wind on your skin. I can taste that sun. Only let the rum on my lips, spend all day on your kiss, caught up in a deep blue haze in the shade. She's putting limes in my Corona. I can tell that it's gonna be a good night. Alright, I'm tugging on her bikini string. She's biting her lips, smiling back at me. So damn hot, man, it's getting hotter in the shade. Girl, you know we got it made. You and me in the breeze on the beach, nothing between us but shade. You're lost in those waves, rolling in the wind on your skin. I can taste that sun. Only let the rum on my lips, spend all day on your kiss, caught up in a deep blue haze in the shade. Sun's going down, I wish I could make it last a little longer. I just want to stay a little longer. Oh, right in the shade. Girl, you know we got it made. You and me in the breeze on the beach, nothing between us but shade. You're lost in those waves, rolling in the wind on your skin. Taste that sun. Only let the rum on my lips, spend all day on your kiss, caught up in a deep blue haze in the shade. In the breeze on the beach, nothing between us but shade. Wanna stay right here forever, baby. Shade. on the beat, in the shade.
Coming out of shade. And I listened this morning when I was doing my reading and such, because Sherry sent it over to me last night. And thank you, Sherry. And I will say this publicly. She'll probably cringe when I say this, but congratulations on the grandbaby. I've seen some pictures.
Yeah.
Being a grandma seems to fit you quite well. So congratulations to you and your family on the new little one coming into the world. But Jim, you grew up in Nashville and been part of Music City for your whole life, pretty much, since you lived there and the whole bit. So what is that like for you being a homegrown person from Nashville? Because obviously in recent years, I would say, I always tell people this because I have a lot of contacts in Nashville and country music and such. And the running joke we all tell is Nashville is too big to be small, but too small to be big. But then you also have all these other people who come in recent years to record music, not just traditional country music. So what is it like for you being a homegrown guy in that area?
I mean, it's Nashville has always been what it is with me. When I first started getting out on the towns of Nashville and playing music, Nashville was a dive. Downtown 2nd Avenue, all of that area was boarded up buildings, homeless. There was one or two bars that were still left open on Broadway. All the rest of them were boarded up and closed. There was a couple of other businesses there. I think a drugstore and a record store. And then you turned up, First Avenue, and you had almost the same thing for about a block. And then in the 90s, it just slowly started to progress. Steve Smith, the guy that owns Tootsie's, started buying up all these buildings because they offered these huge government grants to help you put it back, original, because they wanted to beautify Nashville. So I've kind of watched Nashville come from ruins to the riches that it is now. And I would have been content with halfway in between, to be honest with you. But it's amazing to who you see here now. You used to have to go somewhere like Miami or New York to see the diversity of people. Now, if you just want to see diversity of people, you can go downtown Nashville and there's people of different nationalities everywhere.
Exactly, because a lot of the musicians I've gotten to know and become friendly with and just everything because of doing this. The other thing is too, especially the younger artists, like if they're coming from out of the area and they decide to come place their roots in Nashville to, really try to make it. Because like I said, they record everything there now, which is awesome. They get almost starstruck because you never know. You could go out and get a coffee and see this one, or go to a diner and this one, or you go out for a couple of drinks at night. You might run into that person. And it's like, at first it's shocking to them and starstruck, but it's also, they realize everybody's just people. We all put our pants on the same way. But why I'm saying it might be shocking is because if you go to LA or New York or, Miami, like you said, you might be accustomed to running into people, quote unquote famous people. But Nashville, like I said, is that too big to be small, too small to be big. It's that middle of the road city that's like, wow. But, it's kind of cool. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I've been dubbed the several of the DJs here in town and a lot of the internet interviews and stuff that I've done in the past. And there's one lady in particular. She calls me the Nashville Unicorn. She's actually even sent me a T-shirt that says Nashville Unicorn.
Nice.
But yeah, I actually, my story is I got into this industry and had a couple of record deals. In no fault of mine that they got dissolved, but the labels closed. I was with Polydor Polygram back in '94, and then I left. They dissolved and merged in with Warner Brothers and got rid of all their acts. Shania Twain was one of our acts, and we were all running and touring in groups back then. And the labels, because of so much competition and not enough really genre in the country music industry back then, they were all merging, because they couldn't afford to keep all these doors open. And then I got another deal with Asylum, and that I call that my shortest deal ever. We got the deal within a month. We had about 6 sides cut, and I went by to pick up a DAT version. Back then everything was mixed to DAT. Went by the office to pick up a DAT version, and there was a bunch of moving vans parked outside the office. I walked in and asked everybody, what's going on? Y'all moving furniture in? And said, no, we're closed.
Yeah, well, first thing, there's something I want to address there, but I forgot to bring it up with Shade. When I heard it, it gave me a feel of a mixture vocally, and maybe a little bit on the music end too. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I got a little bit of a feel of Montgomery Gentry / Jimmy Buffett. I don't know if it was because of the theme of the song that got me hooked, but it just had like this nice mixture with everything there. Were those guys, because it's a summertime like song, you had that nice mixture there?
Well, Troy Gentry and I were always great friends, and I never really tried to mimic anything he did, but I always liked what he did. We actually do one of their songs in our set, and Hillbilly Shoes. And, pretty much Troy sang that whole thing. And, I was very comfortable with that song. But as far as Jimmy Buffett's always been someone that I loved his music. I loved listening to it. I didn't really follow him. I didn't try to do that style of music. But when this song come across our table, I thought, oh, great, my first summertime fun song. I said, and then about halfway through it, I started thinking, ironically, that now I know why Jimmy Buffett's always got a smile on his face, because these songs are just laid back. They're everyone's vacation. They're everyone's escape from reality. And I thought, I like this kind of stuff. This is cool. It's not about somebody left me, somebody tried to shoot me, or it's really nice to sing about.
Exactly. And I want to bring up, just got a positive vibe with it. But you got me curious because you mentioned about with the labels and closing and all that stuff. And I don't expect the full personal details, but because you've probably seen it all growing up in Nashville and such. But when these labels you were signed to close and merge, and all the big business stuff happens, are your contracts still honored that they would still pay you out? And because it wasn't your fault of them going out of business or whatever.
Well, the first one I got shelved for about a year. They wouldn't let me out of the deal, and of course they weren't doing anything, but they called shelving you. They just put you on a shelf, keep somebody else from getting you, basically. Got out of that contract once it was matured and done. When I signed with the Asylum label. That one we found a loophole. My attorneys did some kind of loophole because we literally hadn't even been signed in at 60 days yet. So the upfront money, fortunately enough, it wasn't that a large amount of money back then, but I got to keep that, and I was released from any obligations from that point.
So that's definitely good.
Yeah.
And the other part with that being said, obviously the business has changed so much, and we have things like Spotify and the internet and YouTube and all these other outlets where a number of people like yourself can be self-produced and have your projects out there to grab the attention of professionals and fans alike. So what is that for you, like, in terms of trying to get your product out there to folks? Yes, it's easier to get your product out there, but it's also, you don't have the backing of let's say a Warner Brothers or, these different companies that deal with music.
The only downfall to that is to reach those larger audiences, you generally have to have a label or a pocket full of change. You're only going to get what you're going to get through the internet, unless it comes across somebody's desk that says, hey, we really like what you're doing. We're going to try to promote it through this, and this, and this. And that's how you see these things going crazy on the internet. I mean, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. But as far as the average guy, for myself, we have to normally pay for everything that we do, with promoting it, right down to everything in all the studios, all the tracks, all the musicians, all the different steps of that, the engineers, the producers. I mean, all of that is, I'm on my eighth album right now, or eighth CD or eighth project, however you want to call it these days. And I've paid for every dime of it out of my pocket. And music has always paid for itself. The day that it quits paying for itself, you'll probably see me sitting on the beach somewhere with a guitar doing nothing.
Beer in your hand or a glass of whiskey as you play. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I've always threatened. I've got a place in Sarasota, and I've always threatened. I've said, if I get out of music completely, I can grab a guitar. I can go down there and still make, $300 to $600 a day just doing what I love doing, just sitting around playing cover tunes.
There you go. Being a hometown Nashville guy, I would think this is more special for you than others. Not to knock being special for anybody, but you had a chance in 2018 to play at the Grand Ole Opry. So obviously that is like, I would say, a church for music in general. And I'm not a religious guy, but I understand and grasp the reality of when you play at the Grand Ole Opry. So what was that like for you? And when you were there, you played your single Honky Tonk Women.
Well, it was very special in about a million different ways. It seemed like I was very overwhelmed that night. One, I got to play my grandfather's guitar that he had given me to play on there. It was a Grand Ole Opry issued guitar, issued to him back in the, I think, late 60s. And everybody there was having a fit over the guitar because there's only a few of those that are in existence. To the song that we chose to do that night was something out of the realm of what we normally do. It was an old classic country tune that my grandfather had written, but he never had pitched it to anyone. So we took that song, he and I did, and that was really the only song that he and I really sat down and wrote together and completed. We rewrote that song together and updated it because it talked about pinball machines and stuff like that and camping out on a payphone, which none of that exists anymore, hardly. And so we had to rewrite the song, and then he got to watch me do it. He got to see me do it. I had another inspiration. My uncle, that was like my brother. He lived with us. My grandmother passed away when he was 10 and I was 5. He was stricken with Parkinson's and had to get out of the music business altogether. But he got to watch that, and with all of that and the feeling of getting to that stage. To stand in that circle and do what it is that you strive so hard to do from a very, very early age was really overwhelming that night. I don't think I went to bed till the next day.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just talking to while I was out in California. I got a message from another musician because I saw on his personal Facebook that he was playing the Bluebird, which is obviously a well-known joint as well. So I know it was kind of late, maybe not long after the show, because, California's 3-hour difference from the East Coast and such. So I said, hey, how you doing? How'd the show go? I guess. And he was the same thing you said, the adrenaline and just everything he was like, I couldn't sleep for a couple of days because that's always been a goal of mine to play at a famous venue like the Bluebird or the Opry and such. But what kind of goals do you have set for the rest of 2023 going into 2024?
Well, we're right now trying to work out the logistics on doing the Opry in November again. It is a song that we've already finished. It'll be the third song off this project. The next one actually drops. The next song actually drops on October the 20th, and it's called "Turn This Night Into." And it's kind of a fun, not a summer song, but a warm song, and it's about a guy hanging out in the bar, and he runs into this gal, and everything was kind of just everything, and then he realizes with her running into him that night how special the night's going to be, how much fun they're going to have. And then the song that we're going to debut on the Opry, it is a very traditional tune. We made it that such. It is kind of almost a Hank Williams Jr., Chris Stapleton, Jim Brown. It was recorded by Tim McGraw, in the 90s, I believe, maybe early 90s or midnight, second or third project that he did, and it's called Christopherson. And we took the song and just pretty much gutted it and started all over again, even right down with just kind of changing a little bit of the wording. The writer did it, and I did a show, Anthony Smith, we did a show together at Third and Lindsley, and he played it for me. And I was like, man, I've never heard your version of that song. And he said, that's kind of the way it was supposed to have been done. And I said, well, if you want me to cut this, I will, but I want to even take it further than what you just did. I want to bring it back to roots. I want to bring it back to something to where guy wants to, he hears this song coming on. He wants to walk to the refrigerator and grab a beer. That's my goal on this. And he said, you know what? Have at it. Well, when I sent it to him after it was finished, he literally called me on FaceTime and was crying. He said, how in the hell did you pull that off? And I said, man, I hear a song. If I can't feel it, I really don't try to attempt it. But that song just reached out and grabbed me and said, this is the way I need to be sung. And so I worked on it, in the truck. I worked on it in the shower until I got it to where I thought it needed to be. And then went in and got my co-producers and said, all right, here's what I want to accomplish. And man, these guys helped me accomplish that. Pat Holt, I got to give props to that guy. He just had he had the ear that I needed. And Darren Smith, ironically, who was with McGraw for 28 years as a co-producer and a guitar player, he was my other producer on this. And he said, if Tim would have been able to do it that way, or even close to that, it would have been a single hit. And he said, but now it's going to be one of those songs that I feel you're going to have a hit with that. Trying to line up Christopherson. I've got several people that know him. They're trying to line up to have him flown in to the Opry that night. That's really how cool we're trying to make it. So anybody out there that hears this that might have that man's digits, let him know we're trying to reach out to him. I've had several people that I've reached out to that know him personally, and you know how that goes. So
yeah,
we're hoping, got our fingers crossed.
Yeah, and it's funny because you mentioned McGraw, and there's other quote unquote names in country that one of my buddies one of the guys I became buddies with in the music industry has written for a bunch of them, 90s into the 2000s and stuff. And people know his work as well, too. And I know the fans will read between the lines there because I hate dropping. I hate name dropping, but it's one of those things that creativity, though. And he always tells me that, like, when he goes by a certain instrument that he plays, it's people, he's got to stop and play. So with your creativity, like you said, you're working on that song in the shower and in the truck and just all over the place. Are you one to like do voice memos now with these little fancy gadgets of cell phones? Are you carrying a pad and paper? How are you putting stuff down so you don't forget things? Because you can as quick as it comes in, it goes right out.
Well, I normally use my notes in my phone, or if I'm driving down the road and I can't type, I'll just hit the speaker on my phone. My phone is full of ideas and full of one-liners and full of verses and full of choruses and whatnot. But when I'm working on a song like Christofferson, I learned the words first off, and then I would sing them just line for line and listen to them and try to understand them and get them in my little pea-picking brain. And then that's when the emotion started coming out for each line. And so when it gets to that point, I'm gonna be honest with you, I never pick up a pen, a piece of paper, or nothing. I just do it. I've been blessed. A lot of people have been blessed with the same thing, but I can literally hear the music in my head and sing along to the music in my head. And a lot of people can't do that. And so I can sing a song a cappella just as good as I can sing it to music because I hear it in my head. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's the reason I didn't do so good with education in school, because I always had music playing.
No, I'm the same way. Final question, though, because you mentioned about having notes and vocals and talking about your process there. When you go back, possibly when you dedicate some time to work on the music and stuff, and you go back and look at your notes or your voice memos and just the different things that you place everything at, do you go, okay, I have something here, but also you look at it or listen to it and whatever, go, what in the blue hell was I thinking with whatever it was? Do you have a mixture of both?
I do. Yeah. I have what I call brain farts. I'll look at that and go, what in the hell was that? Okay. Yeah, that was a brain fart. Okay. And then I'll sing it the way it needs to be sang, or reword it the way it needs to be worded, or put more emphasis on one word and hold it a little longer. And then it all just kind of falls into place. But it's a process. These guys, and I'm not name dropping, I'm just thinking of these guys that have this talent of being able to walk into a studio and hear a song one time, and you hand them a word sheet and they're looking at it, stick a set of headphones and nail it the very first time. There's your freaking talent. And I was fortunate enough to be in the era of time with Joe Diffie. We were just talking about him on the bus this weekend, and we used to call him the stunt singer. I mean, you could hand him something and he would read it one time and go, all right, I got it. And boom, and just start. And you're just sitting there with your, like, I could have worked all night long and never got that. And that's how freaking talented he was. And there's a lot of other demo singers out there that are that way. And I've always said, it takes me a little longer to get there sometimes, but I did listen to each and everything that those people that were way better than me back then, and I knew they were, but I was always on their coattail trying to learn. And now that it's come kind of not necessarily full circle, but it's back to that thing now to where, and what's so funny, I know we're veering off here and I tend to do that a lot, but that's now funny. I have some of these younger artists that I let open for me, and they're just getting their start. And I can sit and watch while I'm on stage. I'll catch myself looking over at them and catch them looking at me, and they're watching every single move I make, just like I did, just say, for instance, Joe Diffie in the studio. It's like, it's that same look that you have, that same look that I had 30 years ago, 35 years ago, whatever. It's the same look. And that's exciting when you're working with these younger artists. Some of these kids come in here, they've got to have their phone in their face. They've got to be reading lyrics, this, that, and other. When are you going to put that phone down? When are you going to learn that song? When are you going to start sounding like you? What's your name? They'll tell me their name. I'll tell them, I say, it's awesome. Who sings that song? And they'll say, oh, Shania Twain sings it. Well, honey, I guarantee you she's got that part covered. Let's sing it. Let me hear what you sound like.
If you're going to use somebody's stuff or whatever, make it your own.
Yeah, exactly. And if you can't do it better than what the demo was, or different than what the demo was, or what the original song was, if you're doing a remake, then don't do it, because that person already got that job. and they're going to look at you like, yeah, well, that sounds just like what so-and-so did.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the advice I give some of these young kids today. I mean, it's just, I think I have more fun giving back than I ever did doing this. I've had more fun giving back. I've had more fun putting young folks on stage and watching them grow. And if I had a choice, I think today, and I'll use this as my final words, but it's just something that just came to mind. If I had a choice today, and I had two things that I was able to do in this world, and one of them was going to be took away. And if one of them was giving back, and one of them was continuing to sing with the abilities that I have now and the capabilities that I have now, I would walk away from the abilities to sing before I walk away from the abilities to give back.
Totally agree. And the reason I think that way, and I think you're in the same boat the way you said it, and I'm going to have a drink in a little bit to toast Joe Diffie. God damn, we miss him. You know, he was such a great guy. Yeah, I never interacted with him, but
I was on stage. I was on stage.
There was just something about him.
I was on stage with him in Punta Gorda 2 weeks before he died. It was just it was me, Confederate Railroad, and Joe Diffie, and you know, you just never see this crap coming. And then all of a sudden, COVID hit, you know, and we were all sitting home on our asses. So I got in the truck, drove to Sarasota, and my house is on the canal, and I fished for about, I don't know, 8 months.
Yeah. But Joe guys like Joe was one of the first major names. Not that it didn't affect other people that when they said Joe Diffie passed, it was just like, what? Like, but so I'm going to obviously toast him.
Chips the Dog. Remember that song? That was my favorite freaking song. And so I did it during the COVID. If you go back far enough on my Facebook, I was having basement shows. We were going down into a studio in the basement and doing shows for everybody just to keep music alive. And so we did a toast to Joe Diffie, and it was Ships That Don't Come In. And I've always loved that song. But then I found out that one of the writers on that song, and actually the original composer of that song, was Dave Gibson. And Dave and I had friends for years. You know, the song Tears in the Water, Never Quit, Never Does. All those songs that I recorded, That's What I'm Talking About. All those are Dave Gibson songs. So here I am knowing Dave that well. Been knowing Dave since, you know, the 90s. And I never knew he wrote Ships That Don't Come In. And so when I'm doing it, I actually stopped recording because somebody had mentioned that was down there with us that's a Dave Gibson tune. I said, you're freaking kidding me. And so I went back and found the lyrics to the song and looked, and sure enough it was. So I even mentioned that into the deal. And then Dave called me that night, was just bawling. I think he'd had more than one toast to Joe. And he was doing a lot of remembering and a lot of grieving. And so we literally were FaceTiming each other, singing that song together.
Nice.
And, you know, that was one of them memorable moments. It was really cool.
And I'll end with this. It's amazing how much emotion, good, bad, and different, that music does and brings everybody together like that. So the highs and lows of life. So, but Jim's new song, as we said, is Shade. I will have links to all his social media, YouTube, Spotify, all that fun stuff. Jim, thank you so much for the time.
Hey man, thank you for giving it to me.
Hey there, Friday fans. We know how much you enjoy the movies. Enjoy grabbing your Friday merchandise and interacting with the Friday family, whether it be at conventions, or during our particular watch-alongs? Well, when you're looking to get yourself masks, why not check out our friends over at Camp Blood Customs out of New York State and order your specific custom mask from any of the films. All orders are made specifically. Your needs and wants are. Make sure you find Camp Blood Customs on Facebook, Instagram, and all over social media and order yours today.
Hey y'all, this is Adam Marcus, writer and director of Jason Goes to Hell and Secret Santa, and you are taking a ride on Crazy Train Radio. Badass.